With the release of the PMDG 737 just around the corner, it seemed like a good time to take the Bredok 737 out for one final flight and see how it performs in Sim Update 9 and how much has been patched since the initial release. Just as before with this plane, from a runway start there's very little to do in the FMC apart from look at the ambitious V-speeds for takeoff. Usually I fly this in flight level change mode, but today, just to test it out, see if anything's changed, we're going to use VNAV mode. The FMC recommends a cruising altitude of 39,000 feet, so we'll see how we do with that. The ILS of our destination is automatically set from our plan, auto brake is set to rejected takeoff, flaps are automatically set for takeoff, so let's go. We can safely ignore the callouts for V1 and V2, and we'll rotate around 140 knots because we're fairly lightly loaded for a short flight with about 20% fuel. Today's test flight is from Kumamoto, the home of the bear, to Sapporo in Japan. At 400 feet we switch the autopilot on, the plane begins its climb and starts to follow our plan. Of course, VNAV in MSFS is still just a dumb climb mode. But what's noteworthy here is the climb rate we're seeing of about 7,500 feet per minute. The plane levels off nicely at our top of climb and pitches the nose down gently to settle into a cruise. There's no top of descent listed in the progress page on the FMC, so we click through the legs and it looks like the plane wants to give itself about 13 miles to descend from 39,000 feet to 6,000. So that's exactly what we'll let it do. As we could have expected, the plane does nothing at its top of descent, so we put it in flight level change mode to force it down. The 737's descent performance is just as impressive as its climb abilities, and we descend at about 7,500 feet per minute. Because we're in flight level change mode, it won't automatically decelerate either, whether that's to 250 knots below 10,000 or its approach speed of about 130. Of course we end up way too high on the slope for our approach, but it's no big deal, we vector ourselves back towards the airport and get configured for landing. Localizer and glide slope capture is absolutely fine, and we let the autopilot fly the ILS until a couple of hundred feet above the ground. There is no auto land on the Bredok 737 by the way. We disengaged autopilot, auto throttle, and we fly the last phase of the approach to the ground. I don't remember this 737 being this floaty before, but it certainly makes landing a lot easier.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
A ridiculously clean touchdown there. Reverse is on, auto brake is working, and we can smoothly idle the throttles and roll off the runway at the next taxiway. So how do I feel about the Bredok 737 after all its updates, and how does it work in Sim Update 9? It's no secret that when this plane was first released it was rubbish, but it's had a lot of fixes and a lot of visual updates since then. Remember, this is a $23 plane. In my opinion, it's perfectly flyable if you use flight change instead of a dodgy default flights in VNAV, and you don't mind those unrealistic climb and descent rates. It obviously will not hold a candle to the PMDG when it's released, but if you really need a 737 MAX in your life right now, if you pick this up, you will be getting an aircraft that's equal in quality to the default aircraft in the simulator. This is probably the last time we'll fly this plane on the channel, so I hope you found this video useful and enjoyable. If you did, please drop a like and do feel free to subscribe as I make this kind of content fairly regularly. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.